Happy to have for the first time on the Carton Show with Big Mac, the manager of the New York Mets, Carlos Mendoza. Carlos, it's Craig Carton and Chris McMonigle. Appreciate you taking some time to chat with us today. How you doing?
Good. I'm doing all right. Thanks for having me. How you guys
thanks
doing?
for coming on.
Doing great. Obviously, a lot to get to. So let me start off with the most obvious question, and that is the clubhouse. And the rumors of last year, the clubhouse not getting along over politics and wives fighting, etc. Juan Soto acknowledged yesterday there was a problem. Francisco Lindor acknowledged, yes, there was a problem. I know you've talked about at the end of last year, but it's a fresh year, new guys in the clubhouse. Can you give Met fans a little insight to what everybody was talking about in regards to the disconnect amongst the players in your locker room last year?
No, I wouldn't call it that way.
Okay.
That's a first for me about politics.
Okay.
Yeah. I got to laugh. I'm sorry. I've been pretty consistent with the messaging. It's not that the guys didn't get along. We just didn't win games on the baseball field. And you know, it's pretty much the same core that had an amazing run in 2024, you know. And last year we got out of the gate, and that second half was super hard for us, you know, dealing with a lot of injuries and things like that. And just when you don't start winning as many games, then, you know, it's hard, you know. I think the biggest thing is we didn't have fun. But again, when you're not getting the result you want, it's hard. So as far as like how they got along fine. Great, to be honest with you. It was just not being able to get the job done, like I said, and then, you know, there's a lot of noise and things like that, but I wouldn't put it that way, though.
So it's interesting. So obviously winning is fun, losing is not fun. We all get that, and I totally understand that when you have the best record in baseball up until June, whatever, obviously everyone's loosey-goosey because you're winning. When things go south, there's, you know, pressure and tension. I totally get that. And I don't want to be disrespectful and push you on the answer, but the guys have acknowledged that there was something wrong inside that clubhouse. We've heard rumors that wives didn't get along. We've heard rumors that there was a faction of Trump supporters versus non-Trump supporters. And you're saying that when you were in that locker room and having your ear to the ground in that locker room, you never became aware of any kind of dysfunction in between the guys or families?
With politics?
Yeah.
No. No.
Do you think there were cliques on the team where this group of guys didn't hang out with that group of guys?
No, I mean, look, like I said, I mean, this is the same group that had a hell of a run in 2024. They got along fine. We just didn't play good baseball. Yeah, and it became a clubhouse where, you know, when you're not winning, especially in New York, you know, and it happened. You know, I think the mentality was we're going to be fine until, you know, we came up short. So, yeah, I mean, but it was very professional. Guys respected each other, and we all had the same goal. We just, you know, fell short.
All right, Carlos, so whatever the case may be with the players, obviously a lot of change with the team. I know this is only your third season, but obviously this is the first spring training. No Pete, no Nimmo, no McNeil, no Diaz. The owner has come out and said there's a different feel inside the kind of spring training right now. What's it like, new team dynamic, starting this camp?
Yeah, look, it's been great. The first few days in here, the pitchers and catchers did a hell of a job setting the tone and, you know, just creating that environment. Every year is different, you know. I remember my first year here when people were talking about zero expectations. We knew we had a good team. And the same thing was last year. We showed up after reaching the NLCS, and, you know, it was a good environment, but with so many different faces, a lot of new people, whether it's from the player side, from the coaching staff. It's been great, like I said. The guys are setting the tone, and a lot of these guys have played together before in previous teams. So, look, we like what we're seeing, and this is what it's all about in spring training, setting that foundation that is going to allow us to get through whatever is thrown at us on a 162-game season.
Talking to Carlos Mendoza, manager of the New York Mets. We saw the report today that Luis Robert Brett Beatty, Francisco Alvarez, and Jorge Polanco going to get off to a slower start in the spring, won't play in early spring training games. Obviously, Met fans, as you know, this time of year when baseball is coming back are excited about the prospects of the year, get concerned about that. Just give me a quick overview. Anything in any one of those four guys that Met fans should be more concerned about than others?
No, not at all. There's no concern here. I think it's just part of spring training is long, 6 weeks, and these are some guys that had a pretty extensive resume with dealing with injuries, like Aldi, two last year with the hamate, then the ligament. So he had surgery in the off season, and I think it's just part of that same buildup. Same thing with Louis Robert. We've been saying it since we acquired him that we need this guy on the field. He's going through full workouts. Like, if it's up to him, he's playing on Saturday.
Got it.
But we want to make sure we put him on a place where we feel comfortable with him sprinting at 100%. It's just basically getting him stronger with the lower half. But he's going to be getting live at bats on the backfield. He's doing all the fundamentals. He's going through every drill in the outfield, taking back like he's going through a normal spring training schedule. It's just the playing time that we are going to take some time. Same thing with Jorge Polanco. Had a pretty good surgery about a year and a half ago, and our trainers, once we acquire him, they identify some things that he just needed to work on around that knee. And again, he's going through. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's got almost like 20 at-bats already since he's been here. But we're just going to take it slow. And with Brett, he felt something while he was doing conditioning at home on his right hamstring, and he didn't do much of a baseball activity or running for a few days. So that kind of put him a little bit behind the eight ball. But he's in a good place right now, and we just got to get him ramp it back up before we put him in the outfield in game action.
Carlos, I mentioned that obviously the team is very different, right? This offseason was very much to change the team, whatever the reason for, baseball or otherwise. But one of the things that right now you would look at this team and say, you guys kind of traded athleticism and contact for power, right? You lose Alonso's home runs, you lose Nimmo's home runs. Even the best hitter you bring back, and Bichette kind of has the power we saw in the World Series, but not necessarily a home run hitter. Any concern that this team is a little light on power home runs after losing two of the bigger home run hitters on the team?
Well, not really. You mentioned, there's power potential there for Bo in the batting average. Polanco is another guy that will give you a quality at bat, and he's got the ability to drive the baseball out of the ballpark. Louis Robert, he's a guy that he's 30-something. When he's healthy, he's got that type of power. Counting on healthy Francisco Alvarez, a guy that we didn't have in the lineup for the most part last year. When he's healthy, he's capable of hitting 20-some, close to 30. I mean, I don't want to put a number, but the power is real. So on top of that, you got the guys that, the core guys, whether it's Soto, Lindor. So you feel good about the offense.
Talking to Carlos Mendoza, Mets manager, you referenced the hamate bone with Alvarez a year ago. Obviously, we find out the news about Francisco Lindor last week about his hamate and had the surgery already. I know you guys are optimistic that he could be ready for opening day, but realistically, if it is a 6-week recovery, would you assume he gets some at-bats, at Port St. Lucie before playing for the Mets? Or do you think opening day is a legitimate possibility?
Yeah, I mean, we still feel good about the possibility of having Francisco playing for us on opening day. We're looking at, by the time we get to the 6-week mark, there's a lot. The beauty about spring training is you can get creative, and you can always put him on the backfields and, simulate at-bats, have him track pitches, and then he's going to start swinging, once he's capable of. But, again, only time will tell, but we're still very optimistic that, that Francisco is going to be playing for us on opening day.
So let me follow up on that. If we play out the possibility that he is not ready opening day, even if it's a week later, a couple days later, would you consider batting Soto at leadoff if Francisco is not here opening day, or is that not a consideration for you guys?
Well, I'm not going to say whether we haven't even discussed that. I'm pretty sure by the time we have to make that decision, we'll have the conversation. But I don't know. I mean, we got to see who's healthy, who's not.
Okay.
So it's hard to sit here and have a conversation about something that might not be on the table.
So let me just take it down to the next step. Assuming everybody's healthy, can you envision a world in where your top three would be Soto 1, Lindor 2, Bichette 3, or you guys locked in, assuming everyone's healthy, that's Soto back second?
Yes. So if everyone's healthy, we're probably going to go Lindor, Soto, Bo out of the gate.
And that's no wiggle room on that, it sounds like.
Sounds like you like Soto leading off.
Too long with Evan Roberts. That's the problem.
No,
I'm
only asking the question because I grew up in the 70s and 80s, and your best hitter bat third back then.
Yeah.
And that was just a thing every team did back in the day. Your best hitter, from average standpoint, would always bat third. Analytics have changed that, where your best hitter on some teams now leads off because they get X number of extra at-bats over the course of a very long season. So my thought process was, if we agree that Soto is your best offensive player, why not bat him at leadoff so that you get more at-bats out of your best offensive player? That make sense?
Yeah, no, I hear you. But look, you're talking about hitting. You mentioned batting average on the 3 spot, right, on the 3 hole. Bo is one of the few guys that's hit 300 for the past few years. So you're looking at a 300 hitter on the 3 hole. Mm-hmm. And you got 2 guys that have the ability to get on base. Soto is elite at doing that. So there's a good chance that Juan is going to get on and Bo is going to come up to the plate with someone on base. So you like that. So as of right now, everyone healthy. You're probably going to see that combination there with those 3.
Obviously, a lot made of the idea of run prevention as soon as the season ended last year. And while you might, and Place has gotten better defensively, certainly talking about Luis Robert Jr. in center field is a good defender. A lot of guys playing in different positions this year. Soto obviously moving to left. You got Polanco at first base. You've got Bo moving over to third. Early on here, what's the feel of Polanco being able to play first? What's the feel of Bichette at third? And any concern about just an overall defense that has a lot of pieces kind of moving around?
Yeah, no, the way we see it is, you mentioned those 2, Bo the third and Polanco the first. Because Soto, when you look at, I think he's got more than 400 plays, 400 games in left field. So he's very familiar with that position. So I wouldn't put Soto on that category, but it's just more like Bo, who's never played third, and Jorge, who's never played a meaning at first base. Those 2 guys came up as shortstops, and you're looking at athletes that are used to playing on the middle of the infield. You're not asking an outfielder to come to third or a first baseman to play third base. So pretty comfortable. We just, we got to start playing games because, giving them reps now, ground balls, team defense, bump plays, cuts and relays, and things like that. That's just the foundation. But not when we start playing games when, the reaction with the ball off the bat, the jumps, the decision-making, that's for me going to be the biggest thing with Bo at third. But knowing the athlete, knowing the person, and just, the skills, good arm, good hands, I think he's going to be just fine there. Same thing with Jorge, just when we start playing games and getting the feel for the footwork around the base and, not stretching too soon and going after a ball, knowing where the second baseman is at and, instead of going after the ball to your right, you have to break to the left and go to the base because the second baseman is there. So some of the details that goes on when you're playing games, but not concerned. I think they're going to be just fine.
And the one thing with Soto moving to left, though, it opens up a more difficult, at least in your building, right field. And you've got kind of Benj and the idea of possibly Beatty playing right field. Any more concern in Beatty going to a tougher spot, or Benj, how does he profile? I know he's played some center too, but he profiles more of a corner outfielder. What about the right field spot and maybe making that kind of platoon a little bit more difficult than left field and Citi Field?
Yeah, the good thing with Carson is he played right field in college. He played in the minor leagues. He's got the ability to play everywhere. You're looking at a guy that before we traded for Roberts, we were looking at him potentially, fighting for the center field job. Now we're looking at right field. The arm is a plus arm. He's a pretty good athlete. Speed is there. With Brett, same way. He had some experience playing in the outfield in the minor leagues a few years ago. And when we decided to move with Soto to left, we knew that Beatty was going to be part of that mix in right field. So he's an athlete. We've been moving him around since last year. We asked him to play second base, and he made that transition. Look pretty good. He got to a point where we were starting him at second base. So no doubt that he's going to be able to add first base and right field to the mix.
Talking to Carlos Mendoza for a few more moments. Appreciate his time this afternoon here on The Fan. Quick non-Met question. It's just on the top of my head, Carlos. The Philadelphia Phillies allegedly just gave $1.8 million to an 11-year-old Venezuelan shortstop named David Basabe. I assume this is making the rounds in clubhouses around MLB. Is this the greatest 11-year-old that's ever stepped on a diamond? And I'm just wondering, as a Venezuelan baseball man, have you ever heard of this kid? And should we expect that when he's in like 8th grade, he's playing pro baseball, or is this some type of a joke that I fell prey to?
Man, I don't know, but that's crazy. Like 11 years old.
11 years old,
Yeah.
First thing that comes to mind, I have a 12-year-old.
Sign him up.
Sign him up for 1.8. Yeah.
My gosh, good for him. Now, I mean, I haven't heard, but wow, that's crazy.
Your thoughts, since I'm talking Venezuela, World Baseball Classic. I know a lot of managers would rather have their guys with them the entire spring training and getting ready for the season. But I think it's great for baseball. I thought 2 years ago it was a great spectacle of baseball, and I think it's going to remain that way. What's your take on the handful of Mets that you have playing in it? I know Lindor's not playing in it, and there was an issue about insurance, but then he gets hurt, so it became a non-story. But overall, what's your take on the WBC in relation to your needs as a manager of the New York Mets?
Yeah, look, I had the opportunity to experience the last one. I was a part of the coaching staff with the Venezuelan team, and what an unbelievable experience. That's something that I will never take it away from a player. We got 2 guys, Clay Holmes and Nolan McLean, joining Team USA. And when I first found out about the news, I reached out to them and, just making sure you enjoy it. Yeah, as a manager, you kind of like, but there's nothing you can control. You got the best players playing in that tournament, and you just want them to have fun and enjoy it. We got some of the positions. Obviously, Juan Soto is going to be playing for the Dominican team, and we got a lot of them. So for me, just enjoy it, and we'll be waiting for them back here.
When the Mets lose players in an offseason, and specifically I want to reference Diaz here, who's arguably the best closer in the sport. Can you walk us through what it's like, what the relationship is like between you, David Stearns, and Steve Cohen? Are you in the room with those guys when they get the news that he has agreed to go to the Dodgers? Do you talk to them about the prospect of possibly losing a guy like Diaz? And can you give Met fans just a little insight of what that 24-hour period was like when maybe you guys thought you had him coming back in a multi-year deal and then you lose him to the Dodgers?
Yeah, I mean, look, every time a player goes to free agency, you don't know. You have no control, right? All you can do is put your best foot forward, and then, the player has the last call, right? We were right in it. I was completely in the loop because I was at the hotel during the winning meetings, so it was pretty much everyone there until we got the news that he was going somewhere else, Yeah, I mean, as a player, he made the decision that he felt it was right for him and his family, and you hate to see it, but then you got to keep going. You got to move forward. I have a pretty strong relationship with Edwin. He was a professional for us, a guy that took the baseball, that competed, and got the job done. So I wish him nothing but the best of luck.
Yesterday, Steve Cohen had his kind of annual State of the Mets address at spring training. And it seems like one of the biggest takeaways from that was that he said as long as he owns the New York Mets, there will be no team captains. Now, I didn't realize, Big Mac explained to me this morning, that actually there's only two captains in all of baseball. Aaron Judge, of course, with the Yankees,
and Salvador
Perez with the Royals. And I didn't. I know Marcus Semien was a captain for the Rangers, of course. So he brings that kind of captaincy type of thing out of New York as well. But I found it interesting that baseball doesn't believe in having a team captain. Of course, here in New York, I took that as some kind of shot towards Lindor. But Steve Cohen's attempt to protect Francisco from having to answer the question about not being appointed captain. Have you talked to Francisco about his desires to be New York Mets captain, or has that conversation never taken place?
I lost you there. The conversation with who? With Steve, you said?
No, Steve said as long as he owns the Mets, he will never have a team captain.
Right. I saw that.
And
yeah.
I kind of viewed that in a way of him protecting Francisco Lindor from having to answer questions about, are you upset that you weren't named team captain? And then I realized that baseball just doesn't have a lot of team captains.
Right.
But
I got you.
have you ever spoken to Francisco in the last few months or year where he has expressed a desire to be the captain of the New York Mets?
No. And in fact, I think we've been pretty consistent since I've been in this position. And one of my, I remember the very few conversations with him was, you need to play shortstop for us, let me handle, let the coaches handle a lot of the things that we have to take care. You have a hard job. Playing shortstop at the highest level, it's not an easy job, and that's been my messaging. But that's who he is. He is a natural leader, a guy that cares, wants to win. But no, we've been pretty consistent, and we believe in the locker room will have always a group of leaders, and we had some last year. Some of them are not part of this team anymore, but we were able to acquire guys that have been in that position. And you mentioned Marcus Semien being one of them. Right. We have a lot of them, and I'm just really looking forward to work with them.
The other thing the owner said that's making some news is his continued frustration every year of not winning and how annoyed he is by not winning. Obviously, last year, a lot of excitement heading into the season, that great run to the NLCS, adding Juan Soto, and then clearly a devastatingly disappointing season. I know a lot of the players are different, but do you guys feel the frustration of the owner? How does that play out to you? And you personally, who obviously last year for best record in baseball all the way to not making the postseason, heading into your third season as Met manager, do you feel, does the team feel, are you aware of the owner's frustration? Is that something you guys deal with?
Well, I mean, we were all frustrated, and there's a lot of new faces here that were not part of that team last year. But we definitely felt it. I mean, it's New York. There's high expectations. We have high expectations, especially after that year that we had in 2024, and we came up short, and it's our responsibility now to get back to the dance, if you want to call it like that, And we do feel like we have a really good team. And we have a really good opportunity in front of us to do and achieve something special. But again, it's New York. We know we have a responsibility, and it comes with the territory. So you just have to embrace it and enjoy it.
Final couple moments with Carlos Mendoza, manager of the New York Mets. I'm sure over the course of 162 games, you get asked some stupid questions along the way. Managers in baseball have to talk like 3 times a day, every day. So I'm sure there's been moments in your career here in New York where people have asked you dumb questions. So I'm going to add my dumb question to your list, okay? Did you have to explain to Luke Weaver that he probably shouldn't bring a New York Yankees bag with him into a New York Mets locker room? Or did you not become aware of that story until much later on?
Yeah, I mean, not till later on, but I mean, it's just baseball, man. Like it happens so much throughout the year. You make trades, and you got people walking in with I don't think Weaver was the only one, to be honest.
No, there was an epidemic on the Mets.
I don't think he was just here in Kent. It's just, again, that's part of the things that you have to deal here in New York.
Right.
I can tell you how many players probably showed up in different locker rooms with the whole team back. So. I just.
Well, I'll tell you this, Carlos. It proves a point that much like me and much like Big Mac, Luke's wife does not pack for him. because that's a mistake no woman would ever make. I can take that. Go ahead, big man.
I just wanted to ask one quick question about the rotation. We haven't really talked about the starting rotation. Last year was a big issue for you guys, the rotation, especially down the end stretch of the season. You also did something with piggybacking, where you kind of did it with Holmes and Manaea. A lot of guys heading into this rotation. How do you see the rotation? Is it a 6-man rotation possible? Again, we all know injuries are what we worry about all spring training. But again, we assume if everyone's healthy, could you see a 6-man rotation? Could you see some sort of piggybacking as you did down the stretch of last year? Is there anything unique about how you could possibly see the 6-man rotation working out or 5-man rotation?
Well, I hope we're having that conversation at the end of camp. That means everybody's healthy. I remember last year getting that question a lot, and we never got to that point until the last part of the season when we had the kids pitching for us, and we did a couple of times, like you mentioned, with Manaea, Holmes, and guys like that. But like I said, that'll be a good problem to have, and I hope I'm having those discussions with David and our coaching staff here at the end of camp.
But you haven't started those conversations yet. You're gonna let camp shake out.
We got a long ways to go before we break camp, so a lot can happen. So, like I said, hopefully we're having that conversation.
If Lindor's not ready opening day, would Bichette be your opening day shortstop the way it stands right now, or no?
Well, like I said, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. So right now, we feel like Lindor's going to be ready, and then once we get closer to opening day, if we feel like that's not going to be the case, we'll pivot and we'll adjust.
Got it.
Last one for me, just to have a little fun because you mentioned Weaver and the Yankees. You just recently signed Mike Tauchman, who had a really good year last year with the White Sox, and I think could be a useful fourth outfielder to a minor league contract. But obviously a lot of Yankees, right? That's the joke, a lot of Yankees. But in all seriousness, and I know David Stearns has talked about this, and obviously you coming from the Yankee organization, do you think there's a strong benefit? Is there a reason why bringing Yankees over, familiar with the pressures of New York, familiar with the media, familiar with things? Is there a value to kind of having some players, some role players, some different guys who've been here and played with the Yankees? Because there's a lot of them on your roster.
It definitely helps, but it's not something that we're looking or we're fishing. Let's bring him here. Because if he makes sense and he fit our roster, then it's just I don't know. It's kind of weird, but yeah, once you get them on board, it probably helps a little bit. But at the end of the day, you got to go out and play baseball. And when we're making decisions, we're not looking for players that have previous experience in New York. We're looking for baseball players that are going to help us win baseball games here, and that we will continue to do.
Well, Carlos, look, I know it's the first time you've joined Big Mac and I. Of course, our show just started in January, but I appreciate your time very much. Hope to be able to continue these dialogues throughout the season. Wish you the very best of luck in your third year as a Met manager, and look forward to watching the Mets take the field in about a month now. And I can't thank you enough for spending some time with us this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you, Carlos.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Be well.
Thank you.
All right, Carlos Mendoza.